Hello everyone, it's Fung here again. Today we're going to be talking about picking funds and the different kinds of funds that are out there. And again, the information here is sourced from the book The Truth About Money by Rick Edelman. So getting started, the truth about funds, okay? The truth is, you don't need to choose the best funds to be successful. In fact, asset allocation is far more important for your investment success because it's easier to control and it's easier to be successful in. And probability wise, you're going to pick something that's in the middle in terms of performance, right? You're probably not going to pick the worst one or the best one. You're probably going to choose something that's in the middle. And even if you do pick the worst ones, it is still good because investing is not a race, right? You don't need to be perfect. So let's talk about two facts about funds. The first of which is that each fund is a member of an asset class. So when you're choosing an investment, there's a ton to consider, right? First is the asset class. Then once you get to that, like let's just say stocks, then you have to worry about the country, the size, the style. And if we talk about bonds as an asset class, you have to worry about the country, type of issuer, taxation, maturity, and quality. There's a ton of things to consider, right? So to help break it down, all funds are categorized based on what they buy and how they buy them. And it's much easier to pick these funds based on their category than individually. So second fact is that funds in a given category perform similarly. So a fund's performance is much more dependent on the category than the unique attributes of that fund. So let's take, for example, cars versus planes. And let's just say we're in New York and we're trying to get to LA. So for cars, right, a Lamborghini will get you there way faster than a tractor, right? But neither will be quicker than an airplane. So all funds perform according to the category, right? So no automobile will perform like an airplane, much like how no money market fund will perform like a foreign stock fund, right? They perform separately based on their category. So now let's talk about the different types of funds that are out there. First of which are the money market funds. These include taxable funds, which hold securities issued and guaranteed by the US government, corporations, or both, and then also includes tax-free funds, which exclusively hold securities issued by and guaranteed by state governments. Next are the government bond funds. These are the term US government funds, and these hold bonds guaranteed by the US government or government-backed agencies. So for the term, it could either be short-term, intermediate, or long-term. And the definition between these is just how long the duration is and how long the maturity date is. So next in this government bond funds category here are the inflation protected bonds. These have holdings in bonds that increase interest or principal payments based on inflation. And then last are the municipal national long-term bonds. And these are essentially just holding muni bonds from many states or a combination of states and whatnot. So next are the corporate bond funds. These include the term bond funds again, but this time it's for corporate rather than the US government, right? And these have holdings in high quality investment grade bonds. If you don't know what that is, well, it's just anything that's BBB or above. And if you don't know what that means, then you should probably check out my video on the bond rankings. Anyways, next in here are the high yield bond funds. So these have holdings in junk bonds, which are BB or lower or not rated. So next are the US stock fund categories. So it's basically size style funds. So an example of this is large value funds or, small growth funds, right? So let's talk about the different sizes there are. There's small, mid, and large, with small being the smallest 10% of US companies, mid being companies worth 1 to 8 billion, or just companies of all sizes, and then large being the largest 70% of all US companies. And then style is broken down into value, growth, and blend. Value is the lesser expensive ones that have slower growth, while growth ones are the faster growing ones. It's usually in markets that are more rapidly expanding. And then there's blend, which is both value and growth. So again, there's size, style, and that's what the kind of fund it is. So next are the foreign stock funds. It's very similar to the one that we just talked about. It's size style funds. So for example, small mid growth funds. So the sizes here are small mid, and this is the smallest 30% of companies of the integrated markets. And then there's large, which is the largest 70% of companies in the world. And then there's style, where it's the same exact thing, right? Value, growth, and blend. I don't want to explain myself again. And then the next category here is hybrid funds. And these are including allocation funds, which have the 4 basic asset classes, right? Cash and cash equivalents, government securities, corporate bonds, and corporate stocks. So those 4. And there are also target date funds, which are a mix of stocks and bonds. And the ratio changes based on how close the target date is. And that's called the glide path. So there's more stocks the farther and then the more bonds, the closer. So what just means is that if the target date is very far away, you're most likely holding stocks, right? And then as you slowly approach that target date, it's slowly getting converted into bonds because bonds are seen as safer, right? And stocks are riskier. And as you're getting closer to that maturity, you would want something that's safer, theoretically. So now we're going to talk about all the problems with target date funds, okay? Because it makes it sound like they're just auto managing for you and you could just buy those for retirement very easily. But let's talk about the truth of them. So the first problem is that glide paths are inconsistent, right? The ratio of stocks to bonds vary greatly, and this means that the performance is going to vary greatly as well. So despite two different of these target date bonds having the same exact target date, they're going to have completely different performance, right? Completely different performance. So it's very misleading. Problem two is that it has a poor portfolio construction because the ratio may not suit your needs, right? What if the ratio to stocks to bonds isn't what you really want? What if you're more risky and you wanted more stocks? Then they're converting it all to bonds in a way that you don't want it. Then that's just poor portfolio construction, right? So you can obviously make a portfolio that suits your needs way better. The third problem is that there's unpredictable risks in returns because the returns are erratic. Again, this talks about problem one, how the glide paths are inconsistent. And then in here, the returns are erratic just because it's just way harder for you to control because it's just one target date, right? It's going to take way more than that to understand what you want out of your portfolio. Problem four is that they're misused. So target date funds are not meant to be used with other funds, right? Because they're automatically converting your assets and changing the asset allocation out. That if you're buying other funds and stuff, you're distorting and you're messing up with the intended asset allocation of that target date fund, right? So a lot of people make this mistake. A lot of people believe that for target date funds, you need to supplement it with other funds. Well, the whole point of the target date fund is to do the automatic asset allocation and stuff. So if you're adding more to it, why don't you just manage your own portfolio instead, right? So problem five is that they're misunderstood. They're not a simple investment, okay? They are not a set and forget investment, right? Like I said, you can't just buy it on your retirement date or whatnot and say, oh, okay, it's good there. I'm gonna just keep buying these on my target or in my retirement age and whatnot. That's not how they work, okay? They won't get you to retirement with no planning or effort. Okay, you really have to think about your retirement plan, guys, and your investment success. So problem six is that they're expensive, okay? The cost of these can be twice as much as a mutual fund. So I guess here you're really paying for the convenience, right, of them automatically allocating and changing your stocks into bonds and whatnot. But really, if you can notice the pattern with all these problems, it's just saying that managing it yourself is way better. So problem seven, oh, here we go with the management again, right, is that they're poorly managed because it does not have the same due diligence as other funds, right? These managers often invest into their own target date funds. So this means that the financial interests of these managers are of their own, right? It's not of the shareholders, right? Their interests are more aligned with the managers. So again, if you want something that aligns with what you want and your interests, you should probably do it yourself rather than just buy this target date fund. Problem eight is that they're a poor substitute for a portfolio, right? Because a portfolio requires way more than just your retirement age. This is what I've been hinting at since all the previous problems. So good portfolios account for income and expenses, assets and debts, marital status and family, health, goals, objectives, and attitudes about risk, right? All of these reasons, right, shape your portfolio. And yet you just can't just buy a target date and expect it to just be the perfect thing for you, right? So the conclusion about these target dates. Well, it does not mean that you should avoid them, right? It's just that you need to carefully select the ones that manage your money the way you want it managed, right? The way how you would have all these things how we mentioned, right? If they follow those different, things to consider, right? The income, expenses, the health, the goals, objectives, then by all means you can do that target date. Just be aware that they vary greatly, that they might not be perfect for you, and overall it's just better for you to manage it yourself rather than to hope that they align with your own management plans, right? So now let's talk about the next category of these funds, which are these sector funds. So these include real estate funds, which have the REITs. We have a whole lesson on REITs actually, which are just real estate investment trusts. It's just another way to invest in real estate without actually owning the property itself. And then there's the natural resource funds, where companies in energy, chemicals, minerals, and forest industries. That's what they have holdings in. So, conclusion about the funds, right? All funds in a given category perform similarly. Instead of picking individual funds, you should focus on what type of funds to invest in and how much to invest in each. So, recapping everything that we learned, right? Each fund is a member of an asset class. Remember the whole cars and planes thing, right? And that all the things to consider about stocks versus bonds and whatnot. And that funds in a given category perform similarly. Remember the cars versus planes, right? No money market is going to perform the same exact way as a target fund or target date and whatnot. So you want to choose funds by category rather than individually because they perform similarly, right? And that you should focus on what types of funds to invest in and how much to invest in each. So that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, do what you will. You guys are not obligated to do so. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.